In Dungeons & Dragons, we use clickety clackety number rock to determine if we succeed or fail. While this is great for adding randomness to the game, it can be rather annoying if you miss that saving throw by a single number. It can be even worse if your party uses their big spell on the big bad evil guy and they barely succeed on their save. Wouldn't it be great if we could change the outcomes to be in our favor? In today's video, we're going to be exploring how to make a 10th level character who is the master of fate and can aid in changing almost any outcome. As with all my build videos, I'm not going to make the most optimized version of this, I'm just going to make something I think would be fun at the table. The concept for this character is I want to be able to have a character who can see any outcome and have the ability to change it. At the same time, I don't want to mix too many classes and features together to make it less clunky at the table. In order to achieve this, I'm going to use several optional rules. These rules include feats, multiclassing, optional class features from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, customizing origin from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and the first level bonus feat from Dragonlance, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. While this last one's not necessary, I'm going to be using it to get a feat I'm going to want before we hit 10th level. As they're starting with this character, we're going to need to pick a lineage that has all the luck, which is why I decided to go with Stout Halfling. Choosing this option gives us a few features like advantage on saving throws against fear and resistant to poison, but it's mainly the feature Lucky. This feature allows us to reroll natural ones and d20s, but we must use the new roll. It can be pretty awesome when you turn a critical failure into a critical success, but maybe we're just lucky like that. Going Halfling will allow us to take a feat later on, but we'll discuss that once we get there. While the background for this character doesn't really factor into the mechanics of this build, I would probably just go with Folk Heal or Charlatan depending if you want to originally use your powers of luck for yourself or others. Just go with whatever sounds fun to you, but we'll be taking the Tough as our first level bonus feat from Dragonlance. More health is never a bad option, and this will allow us to get additional feat at level 4. As for stats, we're going to go with a well-rounded character who has a positive modifier on almost everything. Using the customized origin options, we're going to put a +2 to charisma and a +1 to dexterity. This will give us a stat spread of 8 strength, 14 dex, 12 con, 12 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 16 charisma. Now that we've figured out the base of the character, let's get to the fun part with our class features. By the time we hit 10th level, we're going to be a Sorcerer Bard multiclass. While I'm not going to tell you when you should take certain levels, I'm just going to say you're going to need to be a 6th level Sorcerer and a 4th level Bard to get the features that will make this build work. Take each level as you wish, but I'm going to start with levels in Sorcerer. Starting Sorcerer gives us some good proficiency in saving throws, namely Charisma and Constitution, some weapons, and 2 skills from the Sorcerer list. For our Sorcerer's Origin, we're going to be going with Wild Magic to have some fun with randomness, as well as being able to manipulate some dice rolls. The 2 features we're going to get at level 1 are Wild Magic Surge and Tides of Chaos. Wild Magic Surge could be, well, wild, depending on if you roll a 1 after casting a leveled spell. If that happens, you're going to roll a d100 and see what weird effects happens based off the Wild Magic Surge effect table. It can be as good as we're getting an expended spell slot, or as bad as casting Fireball on yourself, but we're lucky, so that will never happen. Tides of Chaos is the more useful feature since you can use it to get advantage on d20 roll once per long rest. It can come in pretty clutch when you need to give yourself some better odds. You can even get this feature back early if your DM has you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table before you take a long rest. The 2nd level feature Font of Magic and the 3rd level feature Meta Magic are closely tied together, with Font of Magic giving you a number of sorcery points equal to your level in Sorcerer to gain additional spells or to use one of your Meta Magic options. I went with Quicken Spell and Extended Spell this time around because they're both pretty cheap, with them each only costing 1 sorcery point, and they have a lot of utility. Quicken Spell can turn a spell that takes an action to cast and have it be able to cast as a bonus action. It's super useful to be able to cast multiple spells on a turn, but just remember that casting a spell as a bonus action limits you to only using cantrips as your action. Extended Spell doubles the duration of any spells you cast that last a minute or longer. At 4th level, we're going to get our first ASI and take our first feat, Bountiful Luck. Since we are Halfling, we're able to use this feat to help our allies reroll natural ones. As a reaction, when an ally within 30 of you rolls a 1 on a d20 roll, we can have them reroll and take the new roll. While the downside of using this feat is that you cannot use your lucky trait until the end of your next turn, I think it's a pretty good trade-off since it has unlimited uses. 4th level is also when we get our 2nd feat from the Dragonlance bonus feat option. We're going to decide on Divinely Favored, which gives us some more spells. We're going to go with a good alignment for this feat, which gives us 1 Cleric cantrip, 1 1st level Cleric spell, and the Augury spell. The cantrip we're going to pick up is Guidance, so we can add a d4 to skill checks on another creature. For the 1st level spell, let's go with Bless so we can give 3 creatures 1d4 bonus on attack rolls and saving throws for a minute. We get 1 free casting of the spell per long rest, but then we can use our own spell slots to cast it even more. Speaking of rolling dice, 5th level Sorcerer grants us the optional feature Magical Guidance, which allows us to reroll our skill checks as the cost of 1 sorcery point, but we must use the new roll. Once we hit 6th level Sorcerer, it gives us one of the 2 class features that made me think of this build, Bend Luck. As a reaction, when we see another creature make a d20 roll, we can spend 2 sorcery points to add or subtract 1d4 from the roll. This must be done before you know the result, but could be done after you see the roll. Now that we're done with Sorcerer, we're going to focus on what we get for going 4 levels of Bard. Multiclassing into Bard immediately gives us proficiency in Light Armor, 1 musical instrument, and 1 skill, and Bardic Inspiration. Bardic Inspiration allows us to give an ally who can see or hear us 1d6 they can add to d20 roll within the next 10 minutes, and we can do this charisma modifier times per long rest. 2nd level Bard gives us Jack of all trades and Song of Rest. Jack of all trades adds half our proficiency bonus to all skills we're not proficient in, while Song of Rest adds 1d6 of healing to anyone who uses a hit dice during a short rest. 3rd level Bards, when we get to pick expertise to double our proficiency bonus in 2 of our skills, but more importantly, 3rd level also gives us our Bard College, College of Lore. We get to learn 3 more skills, but the real reason we went with this college is the second key feature of this build, Cutting Words. Cutting Words allows us to use a reaction when we see a creature within 60 feet of us, make an attack roll, ability check, or a damage roll. We can then expend our use of our Bardic Inspiration to subtract 1d6 from the roll. This also must be done before we know success or failure, but it does not work on creatures who are deafened or immune to being charmed. For 4th level of Bard and our final level of this build, we're going to get an additional feat. The feat we're going to choose is Magic Initiate Cleric. This feat is going to give us 2 Cleric cantrips and 1 1st level spell we can cast once per long rest. The spells I want to go with are Light, Resistance, and Bless. Resistance gives an ally 1d4 on the next saving throw made within the next minute. Now, we've already talked about what Bless does, but this feat just gives additional casting at 1st level without needing to use one of our spell slots. Alright, so we just went over a lot of things, so let's go over all that this character can do. We have several features that allow us to reroll d20s, specifically when it's a critical failure. Lucky, Magical Guidance, and Tides of Chaos all allow us to reroll our dice, and Bout of Luck helps us have our allies reroll dice when they roll terribly. We can even take the spell Silvery Barbs to have someone who succeeded on a d20 roll reroll a dice and give a different creature advantage on their next d20 roll they make in the next minute. We can also take Fairy Fire to grant advantage on attack rolls for creatures who fail that spell saving throw. The major benefit we get is how we can modify the rolls when we do not want to risk the roll coming out the same or becoming worse. We have support options like Guidance, Resistance, Bless, and Bardic Inspiration to add to the dice for our allies' d20 rolls. On the opposite end, we have Cutting Words, and we can take spells like Bane and Mind Sliver to subtract a dice roll from our enemies. And then we have Bend Luck, for whenever we really want to cause some chaos, since there is no save throw attached to it, and it will be a major benefit when you need to modify a roll by at least 1. At 2 sorcery points, it could be pretty costly for this feature, but we do not have to worry about running out since we have 3 4th level and 2 5th level spell slots we do not have to prepare spells for. So that is up to 22 sorcery points we can get back if we're not using this higher level spell slots to cast spells like Bane or Bless. You just gotta remember that you can currently only have 6 sorcery points stored, so just remember to use them before making more. A good way to use those sorcery points is with our meta magics. We can quicken a Bless before drinking a potion to aid the party, and a real nasty combo would be cast Bane before we hit someone with a Mind Sliver. Then they will have to subtract 2d4 from their next saving throw. If you combo that with Bend Luck, that's minus 3d4 from the next saving throw. We can use Extended Spell to have spells like Mage Armor or Aid be cast before we take a long rest to prepare for our next day's adventure, or to extend the duration of spells like Enhance Ability for our allies. And if neither of those are right at the moment, you can use your sorcery points to gain lower level spell slots. If it's not apparent already, our spell selection is pretty good. We have a combination of healing, damage, buffs, and control spells. Our buff game is super strong since we currently get 2 castings as a Bless without even needing to expend a spell slot. I will admit there are some downsides to this build. We have a lot of reactions to pick from and only 1 reaction, and many of our best spells require concentration. However, I think the benefit that we get from taking all this far outweighs the negatives. So, how did I do? Would this be something you would play? Would you do something different? Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now take this inspiration for your next saving throw, and I hope you have a next day.